I think joining an exhibition space, talking to curators, talking to different people can really help you see where you want to be in this space, because even though it seems like it's just a big space, it's a very fragmented space.
Hi everyone, it's Salimi and Joy on yet another episode of NewForum. We're always excited to bring you brilliant guests on our podcast. We're powered by Newcorn Foundation, focused on fostering the expansion of decentralized social applications, also known as Social 3.0, by forming an ecosystem and a community of visionaries, creators, and investors to spark conversations on the topics of crypto, the metaverse, NFT, and everything Web3.
And in today's episode of NewForum, we are quite elated to have Andrea Steuer, the co-founder of CADAF, a new marketplace focused on curators. We're super thrilled to talk with Andrea about the role of the creator in the digital art space, how artists can become creators, and how the traditional and digital art market are coming together. Hey, Andrea, we're super happy to have you on today.
Hi, Joyce. Hi, Salimi. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. Well, I'm very excited to tell you all about what we've been up to and how we got here. So
amazing. So why don't we start off with what is your background and how did you got into the art and crypto world?
So it's interesting. It's never something I thought I would get to, but I've been in the space since very early on. I've been in the space since late 2017 to early 2018. And before that, for a while, I went to school for art direction, advertising, and art history. And then I worked in the advertising world for a while. And afterwards, I got my master's at Christie's Education. And sadly, Christie's Education now doesn't have a master's, but it does have some awesome programs. We're actually right now doing a class for Christie's Education on NFTs and the art market and how it's all coming together. So it's been a really great experience to graduate there and now be also working in some capacity there. After I graduated, I worked for Christie's, the auction house. I worked in their collection management department, and I met so many amazing people. And the funny story is that when I got there, I always heard about Elena, and I think I took over her desk. So then when I left Collectrium and Christie's, I ended up meeting Elena, who had started a company called New Art Academy that was focused on education for the uses of blockchain for the art market. And I started working with her, and it was so interesting. We had all these great panelists. We had big conferences in Basel, NYU, like large scale conference, and also smaller events. And it was all the people that right now you hear about, but it was a very tight knit community. And you had like the guys from the CryptoPunks, like you had Matt and John from Larva Labs, you had the OpenSea guys, you had just the super rare, you had everyone in the space. That it was really a niche space. It wasn't very popular, but a lot of things were happening with blockchain and art in that moment, especially in New York. There was a lot going on. And after meeting so many creators and so many artists and people that were so interested in the space, coming from a traditional art background, we thought, wow, they really don't have anywhere to display the art that they're creating, because it's not art you can just place in an art fair. It needs special conditions. It needs a lot of different components in order to really enjoy it. So that is how we came up with CADAF, that stands for the Crypto and Digital Art Fair. And we hosted our first edition in New York. It was a fantastic edition. We held it at the Lightbox, sorry, not Lighthouse. And it was fabulous. We were showing everyone. We had an immersive room, and we had showings of Kevin Abosch, Mario Klingman. We had the CryptoPunks. We had Dimitri Cherniak. We had just everyone. And it was the moment that we sold 2 CryptoPunks, one for the Winklevoss brothers, that they came into the fair, and another one to the former chairman of TEFAF. So it was pretty nice, and there were a lot of the community really came together to explore this new type of art, and it was really a different time. We OpenSea was our partner for sales, so we were selling everything through OpenSea, which at the point they had never sold art before, so we were kind of like going through this experience together of like, how do you sell like crypto art, because they were more towards like what now maybe can be called PFPs or gaming. So it was a very interesting time. And then we held another very large edition of CADAF in Miami. And as we were getting ready to prepare to go to Paris for our third edition of the physical art fair, the pandemic hit, and we quickly switched gears and developed digital art fair that had an interactive floor plan with virtual booths, and we had a fabulous edition that we were able to show so many artists, and we fell in love with the idea, especially of how to display digital art. What innovative ways can you do this, and how can you really enjoy it? Because sometimes digital art just through your screen doesn't make it justice and doesn't have the same impact as it has when you are experiencing in the right way. So we started Kadaf Online, a great art fair that we've had 3 editions of, and we sold everything through third party marketplaces because we didn't have our own transactional capabilities. So now, after really looking at the market, we are launching pretty soon. And another thing we started since the pandemic was this big festival, international festival called Digital Art Month, that goes around the world. We're getting ready for a Paris edition, and it's about augmented reality and video, and you can walk around the city and discover this artwork. So it started as a very like festival to like get people out of their house and enjoy art in a safe manner, because all the artworks are placed in public locations. So we work with the cities, and now it's getting a little bit bigger. But so yeah, it's kind of been an interesting path, I would say. But we're very lucky to have discovered it at the moment we did.
When I think of CADAF, I see CADAF as you guys are like bridging, this situation where you're helping these artists to kind of like achieve things smoother, right, and not be burdened by everything. And so like what will CADAF be? Is it like an organization? Is it a platform? How would you describe it?
So I would more describe it as a network. We not only bring people together, but we also support people that participate with us. So we benefit so much from the creators in so many ways, from the artists, from the galleries, from everyone. We see all the ideas, everything new that's happening, and we get to support them by showing them, by including them in our festivals, by talking to them, because we think that education and getting to know the artist is one of the most important things. And now with the curators, I think that is the biggest issue that has been going on for many, many years.
In the traditional art world, we have like the museums and the galleries and all that stuff. And so in Web3, there's just like do it yourself kind of. You have all the tools. And so I guess this is probably why the guest we had mentioned something about, okay, I don't think everything should be decentralized. So in a sense, like artists do need some support. We do need some form of like middleman. And so I'm guessing CADAF is like networks or communities like CADAF is bridging this gap, would you say? Do you agree with this, with the whole idea?
Completely. So I think that there's a huge misconception of that the middlemen are not good, or that the middlemen are not out for the artist's best interest. But when you see what's happening currently in the market, especially in the digital art NFT market, is that there's a lot of content. And when there's so much content, it's impossible for collectors to sort, for artists to stand out, because an NFT can be really anything. And digital art, and actually art, the NFT is just the tech behind it. So I think it's very important to be able, and make what is art shine, not being placed or not, or having being placed in a different context than what is not. And so I think when the market started, there were not so many, but now it's a huge oversaturation. And it's the moment where we need curators more than ever, both for the artist's benefit, for the collector's benefit, and for pushing the market forward, because collectors really are the trendsetters. They are like the ones that help shape the market. They put artworks together for a specific reason. So I think it makes a huge difference if you went to a museum and all the artworks were in the same place. You have the modern, the traditional, you have absolutely all the like everything in the same place. How do you know what you're seeing? How do you know what you're talking about? So I think that curation is more important than ever, but curators have always suffered from not being really recognized for the work they do. So yeah, I think that the middleman is really kind of like a myth that became, and it's the same thing, right? Like it's not what you say, but how you say it. So it's not how you like. There can be horrible ones, there can, but it's just the way to do it and the way to adapt that system to the current market so that everyone benefits.
So from your perspective, Andrea, if I'm a young artist and I'm really like committed to my journey, what would you say is my step of onboarding myself into the Web3? Like, do I join a DAO? Do I join something like CADAF? Do I look for curators? Do I look for collectors? Like, how do I onboard myself and how do I get my successful NFT journey starting? Because they might come from the traditional world and now they think, oh, NFTs, like I'm gonna get ready and I'm gonna drop my NFTs, but then it's like, okay, how am I gonna connect with people and make this really happen? So I'm wondering, what's your thoughts on that?
So I think that there's many different avenues, right? Like it depends on what you as an artist want, what you see your journey being, because there's so many different options. We've noticed a lot at Kadaf. We have a lot of artists that used to be working in traditional mediums, and now they want to go into the NFT world and explore working more with technology, and some were painters, some were, and so we really learn how to guide them and help them in the best way possible, because not all of them have the same objective. And I think joining an exhibition space, talking to curators, talking to different people can really help you see where you want to be in this space, because even though it seems like it's just a big space, it's a very fragmented space. There you have the world of all the PFPs, you have the world of art NFTs, you have the utility, then you have the gaming. So, and they do all kind of intertwine sometimes, but they are very different communities with very different collectors, very different artists. So I think being able to find where you best fit or where you want to be, really, because it's an opportunity for the artist to decide where they want to be. And through curators, I think it's great. They're the biggest artist supporters. They are there for showing your art in a meaningful manner, to talk about your art, to help you get in contact with other things, to have an exhibition. So I think that that is a great way to follow curators, to talk to them, to see what's happening, because you just need to be informed what's happening in the market if you want to get in it. So
What do you think is the difference between curating in the digital space and curating in the traditional space? Because we at NewCoin, we also talk a lot about curation, and that it's like more in the internet space than just putting pictures out there. You have a cultural kind of like meaning, or you do something with the community if you're a good curator. So I'm wondering, what's your thoughts on the differences of being a curator outside of the internet and inside?
I think they're very, very different, to be honest. I think they have a lot of similarities, of course, that they need to have a clear vision, they need to have sense, like they, but I think that when you're talking about digital art curation, it's a very different animal than what it is in the traditional art world. First, you have everything at your disposal you have so much content you can use. You don't have to be flying paintings in from Germany or from, you don't have to be flying paintings in. You can connect with people in many ways. You can also have exhibitions in the metaverse. You can curate different kind of stuff. And I think that just like with any different medium, there's this challenges. So there's a challenge, how do you display it? Do you display it in a physical space? Do you display art in a physical space? Do you display the digital art in a digital space? So I think that with the amount of content and also having all this new artists that are creating nonstop and always pushing the boundaries, you need to really see what you want to show and how you want to show it. So there's a huge difference between the traditional art curating, and there's a lot of defining to do right now in the digital space. Like, what are the different types of art NFTs? Like, we cannot have one. Do we have all the abstract? How do we start cataloging? How do we start sorting? How do we start kind of like from a more scholarly perspective? How do we start doing this so that it makes it into a more organized without and decentralized at the same time? So it's really, there's a lot of challenges right now, but there's really great curators in the space right now that I think are doing really, really exciting projects. And we're seeing more curators come into the space just because accessibility is key. And now if you want to be a curator with CADAF, we offer you the tools, and also we offer you the benefits. Because if you see, for a while curators were not getting paid for all the work they do. They create exhibitions, they talk to the artists, they put all this together, they support the artist, and then they never get compensated. So that is the model that we're trying to break with CADAF, because we think that curators are more important than ever. And also we see a lot of artists becoming curators now, which is super exciting because it's different perspective. You need fresh perspectives. You need a diverse marketplace in which you can go in and see things that make sense, but they're not all the same. So right now what we're working is on this revenue share commission split model with curators, that the artist share is always the same, like it's always intact, we never touch it. But then the curators, depending on who sells the artwork on the CADAF platform or how it sells, they can either receive the full commission of the artist that they invited to the platform, or they split it with another curator if it's sold through their collections. So I think it's trying to find ways to make the model more sustainable so that we can keep supporting these curators, these artists that want to be curators, because they're the ones that support the artists as a whole. So it's kind of thinking of it like as a way to make this into a sustainable, collaborative community that everyone benefits and everybody can actually present their visions.
That's amazing. Really, I think your intention or the intention of vision behind CADAF is quite awesome. And you mentioned that like there are some artists who are becoming curators themselves, right? And I think you find that quite fascinating. So my question is, do you think we should all become curators and collectors? And what really makes a good curator in the digital space?
I think that we do see a lot of artists becoming curators just because they are so involved in the community. They have this network of other artists that are working, and they really appreciate the art that other artists are doing also. And so when they understand it from the inside, from being an artist, it's a completely different perspective of someone that is not an artist. So they can really bring new things to the table. That being said, I think that it doesn't mean that being a curator does not require a lot of thought, a lot of education. You need to really know what you're talking about. So we're looking to provide those tools as well for anyone that wants to become a curator, be it an artist or a traditional art curator, someone that just wants to start a career. Because it's not just like, oh, I'm going to take all these things and put them together and now I'm a curator. I think that is like pretty horrible. That's like telling an artist like, oh, you can just become an artist if I buy my paint and I just go like this and now I'm an artist. No, everything requires technique, everything requires studying, everything requires sensibility on why you're putting this together, why you are tackling this subject, why you make this curatorial statement, how do you see the market going forward, what artists are you supporting, are you supporting emerging, are you supporting mid-career. It's really important to be very thoughtful about the way you present things and how you present them, because it can have a huge impact on the artist that you are showcasing. So once you have a good curator, they know how to talk to the artist, they know how to guide them sometimes to show their best work or work with them on creating new work. So they become, the role of the curator went from being just like thought leader and to really the artist's biggest supporters, to the artists that like they become, I don't know, it's a strange relationship, right? But they really help the artist produce in a way that they feel comfortable while monetizing, while making it a sustainable career, help them see where their art is going, help them explore different paths, put them in places where they can get a lot of eyeballs on, like a lot of collectors. Usually curators also have access to a lot of curators, but I think knowing how to talk to the artist and knowing how to work with the artist is the key to becoming a good curator.
I remember joining a Twitter live and these amazing artists from Nigeria and from Ghana, they got to showcase their work. And I mean, they just kept thanking the curators, like who pretty much curated their work and got them on like to be able to successfully mint their NFTs and all of that. And it was just so amazing hearing them say, thank you so much for, you know, finding me. Thank you so much for doing this. And I think the support and the relationship, even though it was just through like listening, was just amazing. And so back to this digital space, I'm wondering, like, the traditional art market is still pretty strong, right? So I'm just curious to know, which point do you think it's like coming together, and what are the new models that are sustainable for the art community as a whole?
I think that there's a lot of different points that you touched on that are very interesting. First, like the traditional art market is very strong, and that is a great sign. That is a great sign that people are interested in art. And after seeing recently the Hiscox report came out, and also all the reports that have come out already from Q1 from 2022, and even if you see the ones before that, a lot of traditional art collectors are very interested in starting to add digital art to their collections. I think right now the number is like 27% of traditional art collectors are getting into digital art or adding digital art to their collections. And one thing that I think Sotheby's did very well with their natively digital sale, that had amazing curators, by the way. It had Sofia Garcia and it had Anne Spalter, and it was fabulous. I think that understanding that digital art is not new. Digital art is not new, and it has been around for many, many, many years and decades. And once we start to understand really where digital art is coming from, I think that more traditional collectors are starting to appreciate the evolution and how it all started. Like, look right now at Vera Molnar. Like, Vera Molnar is the pioneer of digital art. She's 98 right now. First sale at Sotheby's. She's right now the first time at the Venice Biennale. She has been working with computers since the 60s, creating computer art. She's the first woman digital artist, and she's still alive and working. She had very little recognition for much of the time, and her works are physical, but she's the first digital artist using computers. And imagine using computers at that time. She's originally Hungarian. She studied in Paris, and right now at 98, it's amazing to, because we can understand, like, if people go a little bit beyond of just when NFTs started and look at the history behind it, you find all these amazing personalities that were really pushing the boundaries. Imagine Vera Molnar with a computer like in the 60s and 70s. Like, that was pretty revolutionary. And I would really recommend that everybody takes a look, because she's still alive. She's doing great, and she I feel it's kind of like a Carmen Herrera situation in a way, that I'm so happy she's getting to see this, but it took this long because the digital art medium was never, it was always seen like it was not traditional art and it's not at the level of traditional art. But once you look at the history, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And so Sotheby's did pretty amazing sale, and Vera Molnar at 98 did her first NFT, and very thoughtful, beautiful NFT. So it's really nice because when you get away from the hype and really look at it as a medium, as what's going to be in the art history books, how can we make this into a medium? Because it's the same, right? It's just like photography. It wasn't art before. Impressionism, it was considered horrible. So it's just finding a way to, and I think we're already there. I think the market is still very young, but the possibilities of it, like, and the benefits for the artists, curators, and the community as a whole are endless, and they just need to be redesigned, like everything, right?
Yeah, I was going to say I checked out some of Vera's work, and it's quite beautiful and quite brilliant. And like you said, it's really nice that, you know, she gets to see it, you know, after all these years, you know, pioneering it, and then now it's like it's happening and people are adopting it and more. And I think I wanted to also say, like, when it comes to this idea of digital, I think that, like you said, it's been happening a long time ago. It's just like taking a different like turn, I guess, because we have this laser cutter, 3D printers, and all these things. And I remember when I was in fashion school, I was just so close-minded that we were told that you could create stuff with 3D with a 3D printer. I'm like, no, I'm gonna create like fashion sculpture, whatever, by hand. And I was like struggling, and I had a friend, and she went in the studio and printed her stuff, and she got it done on time, and I couldn't even finish my collection, so sometimes it's good to embrace these like new technologies that make our lives like better, and also reduces waste. And Joy, what thoughts do you have on this? Because I know that you are like deep in the digital fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I see it the same way. I feel like especially digital art hasn't been appreciated for what it is, like people were like, this is not art because you're not having an oil brush in your hands. And I think it's so nice, like this moment right now is so nice to witness. Like we are, back then it was revolutionary when Andy Warhol came around, and now we are witnessing the Kenny Schachtas and NFT artists of today. And I'm curious to see where the art is going, because you see like gaming, fashion, art, so many things are coming together, VR, AR, and I'm excited to see like, okay, who comes up with the biggest idea, or who comes up with with bringing all of these things together. And yeah, that's why I'm very excited for this. And also I really love that artists taking the initiative and can do things themselves, can connect online and form collector DAOs or art DAOs. And I think that's beautiful to witness. Yeah. So I'm super happy we could have you on, because I feel like your perspective is so great, and give us a good glimpse into this world.
Great. Yeah, I love how you say that, how there's so many things happening. And just one last thought is, if you really look since the beginning, digital art, digital fashion, like all of this is like its nature, it's collaborative, right? It's a collaboration between tech, between the artists, between science, between all these things. And if you take out the collaboration aspect out of it, then you're kind of not being honest to the medium itself. So by nature, it's a collaboration. So I think that you need to have a collaborative network that supports it. Just like in digital fashion, you have like the designers, you have the technology, you have the fabric, it's so many things that need to come together for this to come alive, that I think if we keep collaboration and how to make it sustainable for everyone, because you cannot put all the work on the artist cannot be its own marketer, represent some can and some are great, but I really think it's as if someone told me, okay, so you need to do absolutely everything and also create art. So I think that we need to stay true to the nature of it being a collaborative process, because that's how it comes about, that's how it's preserved, that's how the cool things happen, right?
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I think it's, as you always say, like you can go fast alone, but you can go far with a team. So, you at some point you will need a team, I think. And I'm excited to see what artists are coming up with, like what creative things. And so thank you so much, Andrea, for being on today. Really, it was such a pleasure to having you on and sharing your insights on the art market, and we can't wait for Kadaf to launch and then see much more NFTs and much more art out there. So yeah, and where can our audience find you on your social platforms?
Sure. So you can, well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. You guys are awesome. What you're doing is awesome. And you can find us on Instagram, on Twitter with Kadaf. So on Instagram, we're Kadaf_art. And on Twitter, we're art_Kadaf. Or you can also find me in my personal one that I post about like different things that are happening in the art market, in the digital art market. So it's Andrea Steuer S in Instagram or Twitter. So yeah, I am very excited to show you all what we are going to be releasing. It's going to be an amazing first sale and an amazing first collection of a collector and artist duo that are putting it together. So it's going to be coming very soon, and I think it's going to be fabulous. They're working on this right now, and we'll be announcing very soon. We also have the newsletter if anyone wants to join our newsletter. We love our newsletter, but that's about it.
Wow. I definitely think it's gonna be awesome, because I really like everything you guys are doing with CADAF and everything you've I guess described and explained so far. And yeah, we will be watching. You have our support, and yeah, we can't wait to see where it's gonna go. And thank you so much again, Andrea. And so I'm gonna add this quickly. The friend that ended up using a 3D printer and I ended up struggling, actually her name is Andrea as well. Yeah. So I guess Andrea is open-minded and embracing digital tools. So yeah, that's actually funny. But yeah, thank you again. And we're gonna have all of Andrea's links in the description below. And if you also want to get more involved in our community, make sure to follow us on our social platforms, IG, newcoin.nco. Our website is newcoin.org, and you can join our private Telegram group as well. We will have our links in the description below, as well as Andrea's links. And we will see you in the next episode.